On the phone, we have James Hyman, the world's largest collection, who's got the world's largest collection of magazines. Hello, James. Are you there?
I'm here. How you doing?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Yes. So you have the world's largest collection of magazines. Is that correct?
I do indeed. I do. That is one of the things that I have achieved. The world's largest collection of magazines in the Guinness Book of Records from August 2012. Yeah, it's always been a kind of thing in my life, collecting magazines, pop culture stuff. So, films, music, fashion, technology, sport. It was always a thread in everything I did. I worked at MTV for about 12 years. The first job there was being a script writer. So I had to fill airtime, before internet, before podcasts, before this amazing technology took over all of us. You had to be a bit old school, and I had to fill airtime of presenters talking about things, saying, coming up now is a new video by George Michael or Madonna, and where would you get the information from? Of course, it was magazines.
Right.
Yeah,
so I just collected this stuff and used it in a lot of other TV production and presenting stuff I did. And, it hit a point where it turned into an obsession. It still is an obsession. It got into the Guinness Book of Records, and the plan is really to digitize it and make it accessible to the world. So you got like a Spotify for magazines. That would be, for me, and I'm sure millions of others, it would be a phenomenal resource.
How many magazines have you got?
So a current tally, stop counting because it's just too difficult because we're getting donations nearly every day from kind people. Probably about 150,000 magazines at the moment.
Where do you keep them?
In a lovely warehouse in Woolwich.
Is that near?
Shout out to the stockroom. Big shout out to the stockroom. They're an amazing crew down there, and it's a lovely place. It's actually a kind of the final resting place for magazines, I'd say, but also lots of media stored there, so films, TV, adverts. It's in good hands with all the other media that is stored there.
How many people work there with you, trying to keep track of them all?
So there's, more shout-outs.
How do you categorise them? Yeah. Is it
basically, what we've done is, again, digitizing will make this amazing because it'll make it far easier to access. But what we did was just a basic inventory. So literally, name of magazine, brief description of the magazine, how many issues of that magazine I've got, when the mag started, has the mag defunct, does the British Library have it, does it have a website? Just some basic sort of inventory of what I have. It's not like page 64 has got Kylie Minogue advert, blah, blah, blah. That will come from the digitization.
And so when you say the British Library don't have them, because they keep a copy of every book published,
well, they do. But however, we did a little, when we were doing this whole thing, and shout out again to Tori and Alexia, Sophie, everyone actually supported this, but Tori and Alexia on a day-to-day basis. What we did, we checked with what the British Library had, because you can see online what the British Library have, and 55% of our titles the British Library didn't have, and that's probably the reason for that is things like very rare. You can imagine, like, let's say, crazy punk zines that came out. That, people who made those probably didn't think that literally it's a law. I think when you publish something, you are supposed to give a copy to the British Library.
Yeah, I think it's
so a lot
if
of
it's
this
got
stuff,
an ISBN number.
Correct. I think even without ISBNs as well, I think just literally you should donate a copy to them. And a lot of people probably didn't think of, they had to do this or bother doing it.
Because your books will start, your ISBN number will start with a 978 number, whereas I think a magazine or periodical often starts with 977. Is that right?
Oh, you're very good. You're very good.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Did you actually just know that? No.
Yeah.
That's
very clever. But what about, are you sure that's the same for American magazines?
I'm
looking
not
at a
sure
book
at
now.
all. I'm not sure.
Here we go. I have
thought you'd
Men's
be the man to
Adventures.
know.
Men's Adventures on Taschen. I'm looking here, and it is 978. Although ISBN 38. Anyway, yeah, I believe you.
I know the book you're talking about. Men's Adventure magazine's covers.
Correct.
Yeah,
Taschen.
Taschen
What a brand, Taschen. Yeah.
Lovely stuff.
They're so expensive, though.
They get cheaper.
They are.
As they
Well,
go
you can
on.
get the little, you get the little pocket-sized ones that come out afterwards. But if you want to be proper and original, you do need the first editions. But Taschen is game over.
I like a big book. I like getting a big book and then putting it on my bookshelf and never reading it. I've got so many.
I'm the same.
I
should send you a picture. I just stare at my bookshelf of just books. I hardly ever read them and flick through them.
So proud of my book collection of big books. But yeah, they're all unopened.
So when you started collecting magazines, was it just a hobby then? Was it just something you liked doing just for fun? Or did you always have this in mind?
It's a good question. I don't think I always had it in mind from the beginning. What it is I think, I guess you guys sound like you're the same. You know, I treasured what I had as a physical object, whether it was records, CDs, comics, books, magazines. I loved them, and I didn't want to just dispose of them quickly. I remember when it was early smash hits in the 80s. You know, you had these things, and they sort of built up, and you thought, no, I want to hold on to these. I think the collecting thing definitely came. Actually, it was around about the time when I started working for MTV, and I would just pile all this stuff into crates and send it off into storage because I didn't have enough space for it. But it was that being a scriptwriter when I did have one little epiphany moment of, you know, going through Loot. Do you remember Loot magazine? You know, anything you needed, a house, a flat, a bike, whatever. It was a brilliant magazine. It's crazy. That's another conversation. But I found an amazing amount of, you know, people were selling all their collections of Q, Empire, all these magazines. Yeah. And when I would have, you know, you could get them really cheaply. Someone was like chucking them out or emigrating, and you get a whole set of Q. And you realise there was a wealth of information in that. And again, going back to the MTV thing, you know, if there was Prince Weekend, Madonna Weekend, you had to keep writing about Madonna. Well, you just take a great interview out of Rolling Stone or Q, and there was so much meat in it. So that was when I thought, keep these things. Definitely, there's value in them. Do not chuck them away.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's pre-internet, isn't it? So it kind of like, it only exists in paper.
And people other people, I guess, themselves aren't archiving them, right? The publishers of the magazines don't.
Not really, no, exactly. They're not. A lot of them are not. I mean, many a time, a lot of publishers have come to me and said, we're missing these issues, we're missing that, have you got this, have you got that? They do not keep thorough archives. You know, there's not many people who actually do, and keep it in a good way as well, no.
So you do keep them, but you lend it out as well, don't you? You lend out magazines and things.
So yeah, we get a lot of inquiries. We lend them for, they've been on lots of TV. You know, again, if you watch good documentaries on television, you know, often they need to refer to something that was in a magazine or have a picture of something. So we loan them, we do research. Lots of brands come to us and they say, look, we need to look at, I don't know, Ray-Bans in the 50s, or I'm doing a documentary on the Beatles, Apple production company. There's so many things. Sport, we just had one yesterday for a very, very famous sports personality, and they need all the stuff on this guy and his life. You know, again, because through magazines, it's a great texture, showing everything through magazines.
Yeah, so you have so if you're lending them out as well, do you also try and keep them in sort of pristine mint condition, or is that not at all? You want to have them as an archive that people can use and access? I think, we do our best to keep them in pristine condition. I do my best to, you know, make sure they're not ripped and not major OCD levels of everyone's bagged up. I mean, that would just drive me nuts. They're kept pretty well. They're kept very well in a good environment, and try and keep them. But I think, again, wanting to do the digital is good, but I think it is amazing to have a physical object. You know, I do think we are in a interesting world. Everything, it is all digital. Digital is digital, but physical has that thing too. You know, go to so many museums and exhibitions. I went to the opening of that Peanuts Charlie Brown thing, really amazing thing at Somerset House. Loads of paper, comics, things from magazines. It wasn't digital, it was literally a great issue of Life magazine or Time magazine with Schultz or Snoopy on the front. You know, the Design Museum had this exhibition on California and the design and how important, you know, California and San Francisco was in design. You know, half that exhibition was like counterculture magazines, Wired and this one. Magazines, you know, they're an artifact. They are very important as a physical thing as much as they are digital. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I totally get you. And that's what I think is like those kind of books, those coffee table books will be exactly the ones that I think will continue beyond the kind of advent of Kindles and things, because people like to have that in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Do you guys not get sick of just screen, having it all digitally?
Yeah, I mean, with music, it's so easy to download, but it doesn't mean anything. You know, it's kind of like I'll buy an album off iTunes, and then I'll either change my device or I'll get a new computer, and I've got. I bought an Alice Cooper album online, and it had some bonus tracks, and I haven't been able to listen to those bonus tracks for like 10 years because I got a new computer and it didn't follow over. And also, I've just bought loads of albums on iTunes that I've just never listened to because what's the point? But if you've got a record, it's sitting there looking at you, and you go, okay, right, I'm going to put that on. Or if it's a CD, but also with books, I like having a physical book to carry around with me.
You can, exactly. You know, downtime, you're on the tube, you're travelling somewhere, on the bog, whatever, you have something physical. And the other thing, it's pretty obvious, I mean, print and the written word has been around for thousands of years. You know, a lot of these new medias, even cinema's just over 100 years, the visual flickering images, 100, I don't know the exact. But, you know, the writing and that is being around a long, long time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But also, in terms of collecting stuff obsessively, it's when you started collecting, there must have been like a tipping point where, because for instance, so I've got like, I think I've got all of the Studio Ghibli. I think
it's Ghibli.
I've got all the Studio Ghibli films on DVD or Blu-ray. And
lovely.
That was a thing where it was just like, oh, I've got I end up with 5 of them over time, and they've got numbers on the spine, and then you go, well, fuck it, I might as well just get them all. And so then it was a thing where I'd sort of like go out and collect. And same with Dario Argento, where I kind of like over time I had like 3 or 4 Dario Argento films, and then it's just like, well, right, I'm just going to get all of them, and then I'd go out and get all of them.
You got the collecting bug. I mean, you can. I need to curb it a bit. I used to do like even 2 of every magazine, 1 to keep immaculate, and 1 to keep so people could read it and use it. I mean, Guy, actually, fresh in my memory last night, I've never seen it in full. You guys have probably seen it, The Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
Quick shout out to John Viner. But here's another guy. He's obsessed with this film. He'll have, 50 versions of that film on DVD, Laserdisc, VHS, Greek VHS, cinema prints. If you are into something and you're, dare I say, obsessive, OCD, whatever. I mean, maybe I'm using OCD in the wrong context, not in its true meaning, but there must be a degree of OCD. You collect. You need it. You need to complete.
Yeah.
Hunter-gathering, cavemen.
That's basically what this show is, I think. It's about being a fan of something or being enthusiastic about something, so that's what that is.
It's been really nice talking to you, James, so we've got to wrap it up.
Thank you.
But thank you for talking to us, and maybe we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Cheers. Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.